Hello, this is Andrew Farova, and welcome back to Horn Sessions. Joining me today is Jen Montone. Jen teaches at the Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia and at the Juilliard School in New York City. Jen, I'm so excited to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Andrew, thank you so much for having me. This is super exciting.
Of course. And before we go any further, I do need to let everybody know a full disclosure moment here. Jen is one of my former teachers, and I absolutely love her. So I am truly excited to have her on the show.
Love you too. It's really nice to catch up too.
Yes, so much fun. So, how long have you been teaching at Curtis and at Juilliard?
Hmm. So I started as principal horn of the Philadelphia Orchestra in 2006. And at the time, Jerome Ashby was teaching at both. And he really graciously let me fill in for him when he was sick. So I guess I started around the holidays of 06, 07, right around there at both schools. Yes.
At both schools. Fantastic.
Yes.
Um, so there's already been an interview with Erik Ralske, which, if you're interested in hearing that, you can always go back and check that out. So we covered Juilliard pretty substantially. So I think for today, we'll just focus on the Curtis Institute. So what is your studio size there, and how many undergrad, master's, artist diploma, et cetera, do you have there?
Yeah, regarding Juilliard, yeah, I'm excited to listen to Eric's, and I will defer to whatever he says about the school. So that'll be great. And Curtis, we have six students, and we recently added a master's program, which is very helpful, I think, for the older set of students. Before it had just been sort of a post-grad diploma. So now you have sort of three options if you're coming to Curtis, where you can do undergrad, master's, traditional, or a post-grad diploma, which I think is especially attractive to those who have already gotten a master's somewhere else, or just want, kind of a lighter schedule of classes so they can focus on stuff like auditions or competitions or whatever their post grad goals are.
Awesome. Are there any teaching assistantships at Curtis?
No, I don't think so. There's like a program that's kind of kind of in the community, like a community engagement program, but I don't think there's a teaching assistantship per se.
Got it. So you mentioned, and I'm sure many of our listeners are already aware that you play principal in the Philadelphia Orchestra. That's a huge job and a big playing commitment, I'm sure. So I'm curious to know what your teaching schedule ends up being like. Are you able to teach regularly on a weekly basis?
Yeah, it's actually it's so fun to combine playing and teaching, and it's pretty interesting because I think we all end up doing that at some point in some balance with each other. And yeah, so basically, we have a normal orchestra schedule, during the school year with not too much travel. We tend to have like one international tour usually per year, and maybe like a little US. Tiny little tour of like 3, 4 days, but usually we're able to teach normally then throughout the season, with the exception of maybe 2 weeks or so. So Kevin Newton just joined the faculty at Curtis, and Jeff Lang and I teach the lessons, and then Kevin's quintet, Amani Wins, does the woodwind quintet coaching. So when we're gone, we tend to have him do a week of lessons. Sometimes we ask Randy Gardner, who teaches at Temple, or Michelle Baker, or Sylvia Alamina, or some of our awesome local-ish colleagues to come down and teach for the other week that we're gone. And yeah, it kind of works out really well. But basically, Jeff Lang and I split the studio teaching-wise in kind of an unusual fashion, but we do where he teaches 2 students a week and I teach 4, which for the students ends up being 2 weeks of lessons with me, then 1 lesson with Jeff, then 2 weeks with me, and 1 week with him. And then we split horn class, and kind of because we're so close to so many other cities and so many orchestras come through Carnegie Hall, we tend to have a lot of horn class guests. In addition to kind of the master class series that they have at the school, we tend to just invite a bunch of people from wherever, if we can get them, to come to do the horn classes, which are Wednesday nights. So it works out to be kind of, I think, a nice blend of educational influences for the students.
Wow, it's awesome that you'll have that level of collaboration.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's really cool that you're going back and forth as well, because it sounds like it gives the students the opportunity to run something by a different teacher without having to track them down if you're sort of interspersed, taking from you, taking from Jeff.
Yeah, well, and he and I both came from Juilliard. Like we both studied there, but kind of in different eras. And because he's a few years older than me, and then but we play very similarly and we teach very similarly. And if a student runs in any kind of chop trouble or mental, kind of quandary that they want to kind of simplify their life and just take with one person for a little while, they'll go to me for a while and so it can be floating a little bit.
Yeah, as someone that did do that with you for my second year at Juilliard, where we split with Julie Landsman. I'm funny enough, I'm an advocate. I was kind of scared a little bit before it because I'm thinking, what if I receive different feedback? But then, Julie Landsman's your teacher, and where you're talking about Jeff and you both went to Juilliard, so it's when it's homogenous like that, it can be a pretty amazing thing.
Okay.
So for horn players that attend Curtis, what ensembles are available for them to participate in?
Oh, they have a nice balance. It's a little different than Juilliard in terms of how it works because we only have the six horn students. So, as opposed to most schools, Juilliard included, where you are either in an ensemble or not for a certain cycle of concerts, for Curtis, you're always in the mix, which is mostly a really great thing. Occasionally, somebody will either get a job and not be there, and we'll be down to five students, in which case we have to sub it out so they don't get overloaded. Or if somebody got injured or whatever and needed to take a moment of time, then they would be pulled out of the orchestra cycle. But generally, there's six students and we just rotate them around. And they have, I think, usually about four orchestra concerts a year that they're all in, and several operas and a chamber orchestra cycle and a contemporary music thing and a conductor's lab orchestra. They've got a whole bunch of things going on, and they kind of time it out throughout the year. And then I think a lot of like Yannick does a lot of readings throughout the year. Where they'll just do like one rehearsal and then one kind of reading session of a repertoire. And then they have wind class with Danny Matsukawa and brass class with Craig Knox and Paul Kraswicki, who are both tuba players of formerly in Philly and Pittsburgh. And then Danny is our bassoon principal. So yeah, it's a mix of things. And I was just talking with Jim Ross, who is the new maestro and conducting teacher at Curtis, and we were talking all about repertoire amount and balance between all those entities and kind of creating like a full range of repertoire that students are exposed to over the course of the 4 years or 3 or 2 that they would generally be at Curtis, and kind of making sure they get a good mix of things so that they enter the field feeling as prepared and knowledgeable about certain repertoire and eras of music as we can help them with being. So it's kind of a lot and it's really exhilarating. And I think most of the students are like, cool, awesome. It's like I think they get pretty excited about the orchestral program there. And the chamber music side of it is basically there's wind quintets and brass quintets, and you alternate between the two. So you'll be assigned to one per year. And I try to keep track of it a little bit so that if you're there for 4 years, you tend to be in maybe 3 years of wind quintet and 1 year of brass quintet, or 2 and 2, or however it works out. But, getting to do both. And then there's another kind of side program of like there's string and wind coaches that are willing to put together bigger groups. So you get a little bit of mixed instrument groups. So you get some Brahms trio and some Mozart and some, it's like you can do a little Strum or Schubert octet or whatever. You can find the opportunities to do that and be coached and play next to side by side some of the chamber music-y people in the school. So that's a little more self-led as it is at Juilliard, where you have to decide on, I want to play that piece and then make it happen. But there's definitely the fun opportunities for that. And then studio-wise, we do a studio recital every year, and we require loosely, but we encourage and quasi require everybody to play a solo piece in the hall. In my mom nagging fashion, I require everybody to play a solo piece in the fall, in the hall in the fall, so that you kind of get used to just doing something scary periodically by yourself in small ensemble, in big ensemble. And then we do a mock audition every year as well for that same, just to get yourself in front of a scary situation and try to kick butt at it. So, yeah.
Busy, busy. That's what
I
those
know.
years are for, though.
Yeah.
How exciting. So that covers what the performance opportunities are internally. What about outside gig opportunities?
Outside the school in Philly's actually a pretty good freelance scene, which is amazing. My husband's a freelance bass player, so I know the scene pretty well. And actually, a lot of our alums have done super duper well with either staying local or mixing New York and Philly as a combo platter, and a little bit like Philly, Baltimore, and DC can also kind of work. We've had a couple that have done that direction. But basically, like around Philly, there is kind of a turnpike kind of thing where a lot of the smaller towns, have orchestras like Symphony in C, Delaware, Allentown, Lancaster, Reading, Princeton, Scranton, and Harrisburg is maybe the best one of the ones that people drive to. And then in town, there's like the ballet, the opera, and the pops. Pops is, changing into something else, like something called the No Name Pops. But basically, there's like a lot of gigs. And if you come as an older student, you will have more flexibility to kind of get yourself into those gigs. York Symphony is another one that's a good, like, starting kind of gig in the region that people tend to be able to get through the, basically when you're coming out of school and into the field, you can kind of do some of that. Sorry, my cat. Um, my cat really wants my attention right now. Um,
Oh,
anyway, but yeah, so it's a good scene. And basically, like when you're in school, because school is so busy, the school likes you to actually prioritize, the school requirements and everything like that. But when you're getting older in the, in the master's or the postgrad, or when you're a senior or junior at the school, you have fewer classes. So if you get asked for the gig, you can usually make those work. So we try to sort of strike the balance, and I think every school does, of professional opportunities and loyalty to the school. So, yeah, kind of on a case by case basis, and people start to take auditions and get on sublists other places as well, and that's another thing. If you're subbing with an orchestra, like where you're from or something, we try to definitely make that happen, or New World Symphony, or something that's out of town and a good educational experience. Of course, you want to make sure the students have all those opportunities, again, to sort of ease their transition into the performing world.
yeah. When I was your student, I believe it was you who facilitated it. So long ago, I hardly remember, but I went and played with the Jacksonville Symphony.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Chris
Yeah.
Swire down there, I think, was the contact.
Hmm. Yeah,
Ended
the
up being
small
the
world of our
best thing.
field. Oh, that's great. Yeah. It can help, and also then kind of where you're at compared to the field, and like what improvements and growth you want to make on yourself to make yourself more marketable in the field, and also feel more confident, comfortable, and at home in the field. Make that transition. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I had a ball.
Nice.
And I think it was in February, and it was 9 degrees in New York, and it was, like a 60 degrees in Jacksonville.
Nice.
Yeah, could not have been better timing.
That's great.
Now that we've had a chance to learn a little bit more about Curtis, let's focus on you. Why did you decide to play the horn?
Oh, well, my sister was a clarinetist, and she's now in the medical profession, but she was in music for most of her career, and I have idolized her forever and ever. And in fact, when I was little and she was playing the clarinet, I desperately wanted to be like her in all ways. So I really wanted to play the clarinet, which then she told me, no, that's my instrument. But I will help you find your own instrument. So she had a band concert where they played Let's Go Band, bum beam bum beady bum that, and
Hmm.
apparently the horn players, man, they must have been amazing, because I was like, I want to play that, and And then a picture of the French horn pretty much does it because, like, man, it's so beautiful. So anyway, yeah, that was kind of the start of that. But I'm really glad I did because I find it fascinating how we gravitate often towards an instrument that we actually would be somewhat decent at. Because also a funny little uh, anecdote is that I asked to play the French horn. The band director happened to be a horn player, and she saw that I had never played piano before, and she told my mom like no, I don't start horn players who haven't played piano or another instrument before. I'm sorry, your daughter's going to have to play trumpet first. And apparently I threw like a fifth grade temper tantrum and basically said, no, I hate the trumpet. I'd rather play nothing than play the trumpet. I'm going to play French horn. My mom, knowing the stubborn side of me, she was like, well, fine. What the band director said is that everybody quits, nobody practices, and then they leave music altogether, and it was a total fail. And she's like, I will make you a deal if I write a contract that says I will practice 20 minutes a day, then 30 minutes next year and 35 minutes the next year, and you promise not to quit for 3 years, and you promise that if you do quit you'll switch to another instrument. Like, she had all these stipulations, wrote it up, put it on the fridge, and every time I didn't want to practice, she was like, contract. And I was like, oh, so basically, and then she told the band director, like, sorry, we got it, we promised, we're good, please, teacher. So she let me do it, which is so funny. And it's like, it was a good starter of like, know thyself and kind of like know the challenges going in, know yourself and what you can handle and what you want. And do you want it enough for this? So pretty good parenting.
Wow, what an amazing way to start.
I know, right?
Yeah. So, what then brought you to college teaching,
Well,
or perhaps just teaching in general?
luck and Mr. Ashby, really. No, but when I was in high school, I tried to teach younger students. And I found it really hard. Like, there's an age category, and funny enough, my kids are entering this age, and it's going to be really interesting to see how I can handle it, because there was an age where, like, the talking back and like I don't wanna was so hard for me to deal with as someone who's sort of a pacifist and like wants to make everybody happy. And it's like, so college students, like, the great thing about that is that they've chosen to go to school for this thing, or at least they've chosen to take lessons as part of their thing. They're choosing it as like an adult, and so they want to. And then even high school kids, it's like they tend to be strong enough in their playing, but also like interested enough. So I have so much fun teaching the older set who like know what they want, and they just want your knowledge and you're happy to give it. And it's like, it's great. It's like perfect for my temperament. So I did find it harder with the younger ones. So now when I have like, an opportunity to teach a younger one, I have to sort of remember like, to kind of put myself in that brain, space for it, so that I don't expect the same kind of things as I would with college. But I also love, college years and late high school and young professional years. It's such an immense amount of growth in like turning to adulthood, and kind of what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of player and artist do I want to be? And how does life influence all those things? Like, how do my friendships and my relationships and my relationship with my parents and my family and my culture and my history and my hometown and my new chosen place of living, and like, what are my goals and my dreams, and what do I want for myself, and what do I want my life to be, and what do I want my relationship with my music to be, like, what is its role in my life, and what is my balance that I want for my life. Like, all of that is like just up for discussion and up to the person, and like there's no wrong answers. It's just like what you choose, and then how can we, your resources, your teachers and your big sisters and brothers and mentors or whatever, like help you like embrace those, realize those dreams, and like, kind of accept the beauty and the like the power and amazingness of like what your goals are and what that can mean in the world. Because it's like, it's just the most exciting thing ever, and I love that part of it. So there's a bit of like a psychology part of it that is like just an incredible honor and joy to like be able to be a part of that in somebody's life.
Wow. So there's an appreciation for the art as well as a place in which it fits in your life in terms of balance.
Yeah, because everybody wants different things, and like there's a lot of I feel like in the field there used to be this binary thing of like you're either a professional and therefore a success and you make X amount of money and you've achieved these milestones, or like, well, I guess you didn't quite make it. And thank God the field, like in our lifetime, in our time in the field, it's filled in so beautifully where it's like it's kind of almost back to I think what it used to be like, maybe like when Mozart was a composer. It's like if you're a musician and an artist, that's your entity and your soul, and how it manifests in your life can be many things. And honestly, the paycheck can be wherever it is, and the balance of how much you're doing it compared to teaching or some other thing. Like a lot of freelancers do other things as well, but they're musicians. It's like the balance of it can be anything you want, and even like having a family and working and just what you do with it has gotten more broad. And I think especially even since COVID, the amount that like digital and online creative like crossover type of stuff and like making the field more interesting and more relevant to the rest of the world. That's not, it's like, it's not popular music in our culture here anymore, or maybe anywhere. So it's like, how do we make it relevant to the world and useful in the world and a beautiful gift to the world? Like we're given the talent and we give it in whatever way we find it important to do so. So I think it's like it's a very exciting time to be a musician and an artist and a teacher. Kind of, we're lucky in that regard.
Hmm. Even now, 12 years later, I'm still realizing things about myself because of you, because here I am, someone with an orchestra job, running a podcast, talking about education.
Yay! You
Yeah.
are awesome. Way to go.
It's amazing how it works. That was something that Ab pointed out. I don't think it was within the recorded interview, but she found it particularly interesting that it's like, as a performer, you're doing this. Like, that's so cool.
It is so cool.
I feel like I have a unique vantage point, coming, from the professional performing side of things through to also teaching at a college and also having a lot of, private students as well. So it's like, I feel like
Yeah.
I've got enough angles at this point to think about
And
it
the
from,
family. It's
and
like
a
the
family.
sky's
Yeah.
the sky's the limit, and yeah, you can choose it how you want it, which is great.
Yeah. Well, is there a specific experience that you can target that you feel shaped you the most as a teacher?
Hmm. That is such an interesting question. I think as far as being a teacher, I think it was a progression of experiences that kind of colors how I teach the most. I think the years when I was in school and just out of school, I happened to move around a decent amount. So, like after Juilliard, I went to the New Jersey Symphony and then Dallas and then St. Louis and then Philly. And I did a little teaching in Dallas, and it was really educational. And that was interesting in terms of like in New York, I was lucky enough to receive the gift of freelancing, a lot of it from like Bill Purvis and Julie Lansman, and even like Phil Myers, and like, just getting to play in a bunch of different places so that I was hearing a lot of different ways of playing. And I would go to Carnegie a lot and I would really listen to, like, as a student, I was trying to get more confidence about, say, playing principal and playing lead and playing with personality. And I used to be very scared of like putting too much of my own stamp on something, because what if it was wrong, and what if it wasn't appreciated, and what if people disagreed, and like I didn't want to come off the wrong way, or like it seemed like imitating was much safer. And so I was like, okay, I'll imitate a whole bunch of people. And so therefore, like my personal stamp is really in my choosing who I like and who I imitate, because they're all doing well in their careers, so they must be fun to imitate. So I kind of started with that, and that was interesting. And then going different places and playing next to a bunch of different people also made it so that there were all these influences, both like on recordings. I also was pretty obsessed always with listening to different recordings. And somebody taught me once, like, if you are taking auditions, you can record, like, listen to someone play a certain solo, like, record them with your phone, like with your Zoom rather, listen to the recording, record that person playing it, then record yourself playing along with that person, and then record, finally turn them off, their recording, and then you play it, and then you listen back to all three. And then you later do, say that you do that with 6 excerpts. then you later that day put on the recorder and record yourself playing the whole list down and then compare and contrast all of it. And it was just kind of this fascinating thing of like how much of our influences and our our the people that we aspire to play like, how much are those coloring ourselves and how much are our internal, like I choose this and I love this and I'm good at this and I'm not good at this, like how much is it internal and how much is it external, and how do we get fed from all of it and how do we challenge ourselves from all of it. So that's sort of been a topic that's been pretty interesting to me. And the fun thing about that with playing is that then once you start to think of it that way, you can then glean inspiration from everywhere. And especially like the colleagues around you is really fun. Like if you're a college student and you like, there's this incredible oboist or this unbelievable violinist or this amazing singer that every time you hear them, you're like, oh, it's like you can go and find every performance they do, and you can go, like you can record it on your phone, and you can listen back later, and you can learn that aria, and you can, it's like you can, like if you see them practicing, you can sit outside and see how they practice. Like, oh, they broke it down this way, and wow, and then they were really experimenting with the colors there, and oh, like seems to be an articulation exercise on piano. Cool. It's like, how do they do that? It's like it's interesting, like how much you can learn from everybody around you, and then extrapolate it onto yourself. And a lot of times that method and technique and kind of mindset can help you, like from being kind of passive and reactive about like, well, my teacher told me to do this, prepare this thing, so I'll do that, and then I'll wait for them to tell me what they liked or didn't like. Or that didn't go well. I guess I suck at low horn, which for me is a quick direction to go. It's like, okay, I suck, it's hopeless, never mind, goodbye. It's like, okay, take a second, like yes, you strive for this, so what would you like it to sound like it's like you can make it more proactive and make it more creative and set a plan and a path for yourself to get closer to what you want. And it's like it's a much easier way to progress and continue growing. The concept of like lifetime learning is a really good one for our field, I think. And also like the resilience of like the refrigerator magnet I have, which is courage does not always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice that says, I'll try again tomorrow, that kind of thing. And then similarly, like excellence is the result of caring more than others think is practical, risking more than others think is safe, like trying really hard, like, sorry to swear on your podcast, but give a shitness level being really important in our field. And also like allowing yourself the rest and allowing yourself perceived failures and kind of trusting like a failure that you feel is a failure is actually like a learning opportunity. You just have to sit there and babysit your wound for a minute, and then you'll find the lesson in it. And that in that way, it will be a really big gift that you gave yourself by like sitting through that process of what just happened off of that thing that kind of sucked in the moment. So like all of those kind of things I think are important in college and young professional, and as we decide in this field we want to like do this. So there's sort of a lot of learning that can be done in these ways. And I think it's a progression on everybody. And I think it was very much a progression with me.
Wow. Yeah. So you very much identify, I think, with your own struggles in terms
Yeah.
of who you are as a teacher. Obviously, a very common experience and story. I want to hone in on the word that you used, imitation. You're encouraging, as all teachers should, for their students to go and listen and listen and listen, imitate, and discover through other people's strengths. In that vein, I would love to know, who are your horn heroes? Who would you recommend the next generation go out and listen to?
Oh, I mean, my horn heroes are probably all of our horn heroes. Like the generation above us tends to be the ones that we listen to. I think in terms of listening, I think a lot of times I go to non-horn player inspirations just because it feels, I don't know, more opening, like freeing and more musically inspiring. I tend to go kind of vocal with like vocal and other instruments with the things I like to listen to the most. Like Renee Fleming, the Strauss Heroin CD, or Fritz Wunderlich, like the Dichterliebe recording, or it's like Andras Schiff, this, that, and the other, or like Bach with, um, uh, oh gosh, the guy that sings to himself. Anyway, and like Tallis Scholars and stuff like that, or like big orchestral recordings of like I love like the Mahler New York Philharmonic with Bernstein, like those Mahler recordings. They're so raw and so courageous, and they're not trying for perfection. They're just like trying for the essence of everything. And like the Vienna Philharmonic, what's it called? Like the New Year's Day concerts, or like anything Leon Fleischer, it's like amazing. So, I mean, I think inspiring wise and feed your soul wise, I have a lot of like musical heroes that I really, uh, Heifetz maybe for like showpieces and kind of nuancy details. So I feel like inspiration wise, just whatever really gets you going and gets you really excited is the thing that will motivate you the most. And then when it comes to very specific pieces, I have very specific idols. So when I was like doing orchestral auditions a lot, it was like I love how Cleveland does Brahms, like old Cleveland Zell recordings of Brahms, and it was like, yeah, I know that's Myron Bloom, but almost like on Brahms 3, the cellos at the beginning of the movement is even more like what I want. I want some combination of that and him, and then it's like Stefan Dorr, that recording of Mahler 5 where he's standing, and it's just everything is like amazing. It's like young Stefan kind of thing, or like Dale Clevenger, Till, and Heldenleben. There's a recording with a the full orchestra on the front and a green lettering. It's like there's kind of things like that. So there's certain things that I've listened to of these amazing major players, like Bauman's, Glier, et cetera, that are not different than anybody else's. But I think it's the combination of them that kind of makes your own, like makes your heart swoon and makes you inspired to play your best version of things, and also helps you figure out your own variety, like because you want different styles for all the different pieces and different composers, and a lot of times like the same person playing all these different, it's like Dennis Brain's Mozart, or like wow, but it's like nobody does all the things exactly. It's like we might find that we prefer certain people for certain things, and I think that might be the most exciting part of what we do, is that you can choose, and at a certain point during your years of learning with teachers, and a certain point of the years of learning by yourself, you sort of start to embrace more like, well, I like that, so I think you'll like that, audience, and yay, let's do that. And also, that goes well with my playing. I can render that well with how I play. And yeah, your inspiration become your choices, and then your choices become your gift, something like that. So it's kind of can be pick your own, and it should be, I think, like whatever you like, you can find the confidence on. Because honestly, like a lot of us, we try to, like I was trying to be like Julie for a very, very long time. And I was trying to be like Ted Thayer, who was my high school teacher, for so long. And it's like, I'm not them. And I remember at a certain point, Julie even said, like, God, will you stop trying to be me? You don't have those qualities quite yet. And really, we've tried. We've banged our head against that wall, and you're not going to have that. But you know what you have? You do this, and I don't even know how to do that. I don't know how you do that, but it's beautiful. And that is very personal. And even that, which I kind of hate, if you think they like that, I think you should do that. Like, there's a lot of ways to skin this cat. Like, lean into you and your awesomeness. And it was like, I think I cried because I was like, oh my God, is that really okay? And she was like, honey, nobody needs another me. They need a you. I'm like, please just be you. It's like, you'll be a better you than you will be trying to be another me. And I was like, okay, I got it. That sounds good. So, there's some good wisdom in all that kind of concept.
Yeah, Julie had that same conversation with me. I'm sure she's had that conversation many, many times, but in that explanation of what she was trying to teach me, she used you as an example, actually, of some things. Well, she totally said exactly what you just said. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
and you and I are similar in that we are respectful of people we admire, and we want to please. And I think a lot of musicians have those qualities. And I think we all, as a field, we all care a lot, and we want to learn a lot. And to be successful in this field, you tend to kind of put yourself at a lower point in your mind so you can learn from everybody else. And you develop a thick skin on, like, like we always are being told we can do something better. And, so you kind of, we never give ourselves quite enough credit, really, like that we're doing okay and that we're worthy. Like the imposter syndrome is real. And the thing of never being good enough and worrying about what everybody thinks. Like, I think that's something everybody feels. And the reticence to appreciate the beauty in ourselves is a pretty human condition. So, yeah, it's all pretty good food for thought.
Hmm. So you've talked a tremendous amount about the things that you love about teaching. If you have anything to add, feel free to do so. But I'm curious to know, in addition to that, what do you like the least about being a teacher?
I do not anymore have a least favorite thing about being a teacher. What I found was that when I taught a lot during the summer and didn't give myself a break, and when I taught a lot during, like, I get requests for random lessons, especially as it gets closer to the Juilliard and Curtis auditions. And I love the topic of like audition preparation and doing mocks for people on Zoom and, traveling and finding, other inspirations places. So like I try to offer a lot of like let me know if you ever want to do a mock. I'm happy to do it. And like, if you've ever got something coming up or if you ever have an injury, like I've dealt with a lot of injuries, or if you ever have a lot of mental things, like impeding your path, like, happy to chat it through. So I like want to do all these things, but when I do them during breaks, holiday breaks or breaks from work or summer breaks or anything like that, I do get oversaturated and then I'm not good at talking. I'm not good at listening. I tend to see people too much like, oh, just use more air, that'll do it. And it's like, no, that's not the only thing. This person needs something different. This person in front of you is not the same as they were a month ago, and like be there now. So the one thing is hard for me sometimes is I don't like myself as a teacher when I haven't given myself a break from teaching. So I actually purposefully, like, if you send me an email in May, you might not hear from me till September, just because, like, I'm like, no, I don't teach now. It's like this is my break, and this is my brain break, and this is my like replenish that side of me, so that I can be good at it when I do it. So I'm still trying to find the balance. I mean, that might be the short answer is that the balance of trying to be a good teacher means you actually have to be present and see the people in front of you clearly. And it's actually hard because you want to give your all to it, but you can't give your all in every direction at all times because you'll start to sort of seep into mediocrity in different directions. And then you're like, I'm not doing enough for them in the right ways that they need it. So, yeah, it's just tricky, which I'm sure you understand. I also felt like that when my kids were young. I was like, I'm putting so much into the kid basket right now and trying to hold down my job decently without infuriating my colleagues that like it's hard for me to have the bandwidth and switch gears. So now I just try to give myself more breaks and switch gears more definitively. So if I schedule my lessons, it's at a day when I have the bandwidth to be good at them, kind of thing.
Hmm. Very interesting. It's almost like your least favorite thing about teaching is being human too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, because I hold myself to a very high standard on like these are the most important years of this young artist's life. Like you better be there in all the ways that they need you. Like it's kind of my most important job. But also parenting's a really important job and my job's a really important job to me. And it's like yeah. You just want to be good enough at all of them.
It's tough for sure. What three words do you think your students would use to describe you as a teacher? And before you answer, full disclosure, I have contacted one of your former students to ask what three words they might use to describe you as a teacher. So let's see how close you can get.
Oh no, that's terrifying. Did you contact yourself or you contacted another one?
So there is a rule here that when I ask, I promise that I will not disclose anything about who they are. So I'm
Okay,
not going to
fair
answer
enough.
that question.
Okay. Well, should I say what I hope they say about me or
No, no, no,
what
no,
they probably do?
no.
Oh man. Well, I mean, I'll say I try to be encouraging, challenging, and I don't know if loyal is the right word, or like ever present, like kind of like available emotionally and in whatever they need me for. So those are
Hmm.
the things I try for.
So you said encouraging, challenging, and present slash available. I always try and see how I can tie them together.
Hmm.
So their three words were compassionate, detailed, and chill.
Chill.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm so not chill as a human, but I'm glad I'm chill enough that that registers. Cool.
Yeah. So detailed, I mean, I can definitely connect that to challenging. I think those two are definitely in the same vein. Encouraging, I think the manner, just from my own personal experience, the way in which you would encourage is from a very compassionate, heartfelt place. So those I think absolutely go together. Present and available. That is definitely, I think, something that I would agree with and is very, very accurate. But speaking from my own experience, chill. It's this you have a phrase that you end a lot of the sentences that you say with, which is or whatever.
Oh, there
And I
you go.
think, like these are my suggestions, but at the end of the day, you need to be you, or whatever. So I feel like there's always this like believe me or don't.
Right. Well, that's funny. That I do that. Yeah, I guess if you ask my husband, he says there's a bulldog side of me, like a bulldozer side, and then there's a very like trying to temper that with the opposite, which is very like deprecating and flexible and like, oh yeah, whatever you want. So there is sort of this like yin yang combo platter inside myself that I tend to bring out in different situations. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I definitely connected with those three words, and very much with the three that you offered as well. Yeah, I'm sure we could both come up with many, but it's tough to
Mhm.
come up with just three.
Yeah, that's a cool question.
So this next question starts to dig into a little bit more about your philosophies with teaching. What is your primary objective when you teach?
I'd say I start every year with my students with short term, medium term, long term goals for them. And how can I help with those? It might just be because it's college and you start to have your plans for your life. And I want to make sure that we know that we're working towards those for them, and that you're also more aware of your strengths and weaknesses, and I want to make sure we capture all of those from their vantage point. So I kind of, today was my first day of teaching at Curtis, tomorrow's my first day at Juilliard. Like I tend to go with like, what did you learn over the summer, what was exciting and fun, what are you feeling about your own playing these days, what's been ticking you off about your playing, or what do you feel like you're weaker at and what you want to work on? What are the etudes and solo pieces and auditions you've done lately, and what are the vehicles we can use to work on those things? And what are your, like, are you still thinking orchestra for your direction? Are you still like really want to do all those competitions? And should we start, like, what are some of your longer term goals so we can start to make sure that we basically like curate your educational experience towards that, while checking off the boxes of all the normal things one learns over the course of college, and the specific things that you feel you need to work on, and I will certainly add in on that what I think could be improved as well. So it's sort of, I guess it's personally curated.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to bend yourself to their needs in a way, trying to figure out exactly what it is that they need to hear, exactly when they need to hear it.
Yeah. Well, like, and when you have a smaller studio, you can do that. I don't think one could do that if they had a studio of, 30 people. But, like, definitely, like, there's plenty of bandwidth to make sure everybody's getting what they seem to be needing, when you only have a few. So
Hmm.
it works well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jen. We're going to cut it right here and call this part one. And we hope everybody will tune in a couple weeks for the release of part two with Jen Montone. Thanks for listening. Okay, cool.
Awesome.